Dad perfect events. My wife Patricia looked me straight in the eye and said, "Rick, I want a divorce, and I'm taking half of everything," just like that. 35 years of marriage, and she delivers it like she's ordering coffee. The name's Rick Morrison, 58 years old. Spent 32 years as a construction engineer before I retired early. Built highways, bridges, managed million-dollar projects. Thought I'd built a solid marriage too. Boy, was I wrong. This happened on a Tuesday morning in March. I was reading the paper, drinking my coffee, when Patricia walks into the kitchen wearing a dress I'd never seen before. New perfume too. At 54, she was trying real hard to look 35. "We need to talk," she says, not even sitting down. I set down my paper. "What's on your mind, Patty? I've filed for divorce. The papers are being served to you today." Just like that. No build-up, no explanation. Like she was announcing the weather. Mind if I ask why? I kept my voice steady. 35 years in construction teaches you to stay calm. When things go sideways, she had her speech ready. "We've grown apart, Rick. I need to find myself. Start fresh. Find herself. At 54. Right. I've already talked to a lawyer," she continued. "This doesn't have to be messy. We split everything 50-50. The house, the retirement accounts, everything." I nodded slowly. "That seems fair." "What about the lake cabin?" "That too. And my 401k. Half of that's mine anyway." "Community property." She was right about that. In Ohio, marriage makes everything community property. But something in her tone bothered me. Too confident, too prepared. The papers showed up that afternoon. Patricia had moved fast, real fast. The petition was dated 2 weeks ago, but she'd just told me today. Why the delay? I called my son Tim first. He's an engineer like me, works in Columbus. "Dad, what?" "Mom didn't say anything to me." "When's the last time you talked to her?" Long pause. "Last month." She seemed different, distracted. Asked me a bunch of questions about your retirement accounts. Red flag number 1. My daughter Jennifer called me that night. She's a lawyer in Cincinnati, handles corporate stuff mostly. "Dad, this is sudden even for Mom. Has she been acting strange?" Define strange. New clothes, new habits, secretive phone calls, all of the above. Jennifer was quiet for a minute. "Dad, I need to ask you something. Do you have access to all your accounts? Have you checked them lately?" I hadn't. Patricia handled most of our banking. I managed the big picture stuff, investments, retirement planning. But she did the day-to-day. Seemed logical. She worked at First National Bank for 15 years. That night, I went online and started checking. Our joint checking account looked normal, savings too. But when I tried to access my 401k, the password didn't work. Same with my IRA. When I asked Patricia about it the next morning, she shrugged. "System glitches. I'll call them for you." Red flag number 2. See, here's the thing about being a project manager for 32 years. You learn to spot problems before they become disasters. You learn to follow the money, track the schedules, and most importantly, you learn to document everything. So, I started documenting. Patricia was working late 3 nights a week. Big audit coming up, she'd say. But First National wasn't doing any audits. I called her supervisor, George Thompson. We'd been to barbecues together for years. Audit? No, nothing like that. Patricia's been leaving early, actually. Says she's taking some investment classes. Investment classes? Patricia, who'd never shown interest in anything beyond our basic savings account. Red flag number 3. I started paying attention. Really paying attention. The way she'd angle her phone away when texting, how she'd shower as soon as she got home from work. New underwear, new everything actually. The breakthrough came when I was cleaning out the garage and found a crumpled receipt in her car. Dinner at Romano's, $180. Date. Was from 2 weeks ago. I was visiting Tim in Columbus that night. Romano's is where we celebrated our anniversary. Every year. Same table if we could get it. I drove to Romano's that Saturday and talked to Maria, the hostess. We'd known her for years. "Mr. Morrison, haven't seen you and Patricia in months. But she was here recently with that nice gentleman. Very romantic dinner. Tall guy, brown hair. Oh yes, very handsome. Younger than you though. Bingo. I hired a private investigator. Guy named Michael Sullivan, retired police detective. Cost me $200 a day, but he was worth every penny. Within a week, Sullivan had photos. Patricia and a guy, about 42, dark hair, expensive suits. They were meeting at the Marriott downtown twice a week. Sullivan got his license plate, ran the registration. Stephen Parker, address in the suburbs. Occupation, investment advisor. The classes Patricia was supposedly taking. Sullivan dug deeper. Stephen Parker had been fined by the SEC 3 years ago for misleading clients about risk factors. Currently worked for a small firm called Premier Financial Services. Rick, Sullivan said when he called, there's more. This Parker guy has a pattern. 3 other women in the past 5 years, all married, all with substantial assets. 2 of them filed fraud complaints against him. This wasn't just an affair, this was a con job. I told Sullivan to keep digging while I did some digging of my own. Started with our home computer. Patricia wasn't very good with technology, never cleared her browser history. Real estate websites, lots of them. Searches for properties in Florida, Arizona, California, all expensive, all way beyond what we could afford. More interesting were the financial websites, investment portfolios, offshore account information, instructions on transferring retirement funds. Then I found the email account. Patricia had set up a Gmail account I didn't know about. Password was saved in the browser. Holy hell. Dozens of emails between Patricia and Stephen, planning their future together, talking about liquidating assets and relocating to start fresh. And the kicker, emails about a company called Sunset Realty Ventures. I'd never heard of Sunset Realty Ventures. Neither had Google, apparently. No website, no business filings, nothing. I called Jennifer immediately. Dad, slow down. What did you find? I read her some of the emails. She was quiet for a long time. Dad, this sounds like fraud. Serious fraud. Do you want me to make some calls? What kind of calls? I know people who handle this kind of thing. White-collar crime stuff. Within 2 days, Jennifer had connected me with a forensic accountant named Daniel Cooper. This Daniel specialized in hidden assets and financial fraud. Mr. Morrison, he said after looking at the emails, your wife and her boyfriend have been very busy. This Sunset Realty Ventures, it's a shell company, registered in Delaware 3 months ago. Guess who the registered agent is? Stephen Parker? Bingo. And guess what's been flowing into Sunset Realty's accounts? My stomach dropped. My money? $127,000 so far. Transferred from your joint savings in small increments. Under $10,000 each time to avoid bank reporting requirements. That explained why our savings balance looked normal. She was stealing it slowly, a little at a time. There's more, Daniel continued. Remember how you couldn't access your 401k? Someone changed the beneficiary and requested early distribution forms. Haven't been submitted yet, but they're ready to go. How much is in there? About $480,000, my life savings. Everything I'd worked 32 years to build. What about my IRA? Same story. Another $190,000 at risk. Do the math. That's nearly $800,000 they were planning to steal. Everything Patricia and I had built together, plus everything I'd earned before I even met her. I felt sick, but I also felt something else. Angry. Really angry. You don't spend 3 decades managing construction projects without learning how to handle thieves and con artists. I'd dealt with plenty of both. The key is patience, documentation, and timing. Patricia had no idea I was on to her. She was still playing the role of the unhappy wife who just wanted a clean break. Still making dinner, still sleeping in our bed, still pretending she gave a damn about our marriage. Time to set a trap. I started by securing what I could. Opened new accounts Patricia didn't know about. Transferred money from accounts she did have access to. Not everything. That would tip her off. Just enough to ensure I wouldn't be left with nothing. Next, I documented everything. Printed emails, copied financial records, photographed receipts, built a file that would make any prosecutor happy. Then I waited. The confrontation came on a Friday night in June. Patricia walked in around 9 p.m., claimed she'd been at her book club. Except her book club meets on Wednesdays. I'd checked. How was the book? I asked. What book? The one you discussed at book club tonight. She froze for just a second. Oh, we're reading... it's a romance novel. You wouldn't like it? Try me. Rick, I'm tired. Can we not do this now? Do what? This interrogation thing. I'm not on trial here. Actually, she was. She just didn't know it yet. Patricia, I need to ask you something. Do you know a man named Stephen Parker? The color drained from her face. Who? Stephen Parker, investment advisor, drives a blue BMW. Ring any bells? She tried to rally. Rick, I don't know what you're talking about. Sure you do. You've been having dinner with him twice a week for 3 months. At Romano's, among other places. She sat down hard on the couch. How did you... Who told you that? Does it matter? For a moment I thought she might come clean. Maybe explain herself, show some remorse. Give me something to work with. Instead, she got angry. So what if I am? You want to know why? Because I'm tired. Of being married to a man who's already retired at 58. You sit around this house all day while I work. You've given up on life. I earned my retirement, Patricia. 32 years of getting up at 5 a.m., managing million-dollar projects, building something. Building what? We live in the same house we bought 20 years ago, drive the same cars, take the same vacation every year. I want more, Rick. I deserve more. With Stephen Parker? Yes, with Stephen. He understands ambition. He's going places. Like federal prison? That stopped her cold. I pulled out Daniel Cooper's report and set it on the coffee table. Stephen Parker, fined by the SEC for fraud, under investigation for running investment scams on married women. 3 complaints filed against him in the past 2 years. Patricia stared at the papers, but didn't pick them up. And this, I said, setting down printouts of the Sunset Realty emails, shows how you two have been stealing my money. $127,000 so far, with plans to take another $670,000 from my retirement accounts. That's community property, she whispered. No, Patricia. Theft is theft, even between spouses. She looked up at me with something I'd never seen before. Pure hate. You can't prove anything. Can I? Email records, financial transfers, witness statements, photographs. I've got enough evidence to bury you both. She stood up suddenly. I'm calling Stephen. Go ahead. But you might want to know, he's been arrested. FB, I picked him up this morning. Turns out running investment scams across state lines is a federal offense. That was a lie. Stephen hadn't been arrested yet, but Patricia didn't know that. She grabbed her phone and dialed. I could hear it ringing. Then voicemail. Stephen, call me back immediately. We have a problem. She tried 3 more times. Same result. He's not answering, I said, probably because he's in federal custody. Patricia sank back onto the couch. For the first time since this whole thing started, she looked scared. Rick, you don't understand. We never meant to hurt you. You stole $127,000. You were planning to steal $670,000 more. How is that not hurting me? We were going to pay it back. From what? Your new life in Florida? She started crying. Real tears or performance tears, I couldn't tell anymore. What do you want? She asked. I want my money back. All of it. And I want you out of my house. This is my house too. Actually, no. I checked the deed. House is in my name only. Bought it before we got married, never added you to the title. Another lie, but she was too rattled to think clearly. You can't do this to me. Watch me. I filed for divorce the next Monday. Not just any divorce. Divorce with a request for criminal prosecution for theft and fraud. Jennifer helped me find a criminal attorney named Barbara Williams. Barbara specialized in white-collar crime and had a reputation for being absolutely ruthless. Mr. Morrison, Barbara said after reviewing my evidence, your wife and Mr. Parker have committed multiple felonies, wire fraud, theft, conspiracy, money laundering. We're not just talking about divorce court here. What's the penalty for that? Federal wire fraud carries up to 20 years. But given the amount stolen and the pattern of behavior, I'd expect 5 to 7 years minimum. The criminal charges were filed first. FBI raided Stephen Parker's office and arrested him at home. They froze all of Sunset Realty's accounts and seized his assets. The raid made the local news. Investment advisor arrested in multi-state fraud scheme. They showed footage of FBI agents carrying boxes out of his office. Patricia was arrested at the bank. Walked out in handcuffs while her co-workers watched. Front page of the local paper the next day. Local bank employee charged in investment scam. She made bail, but her life was essentially over. Fired from First National immediately. Couldn't get another job in banking. Had to move back in with her sister. The divorce proceedings were almost anticlimactic after the criminal case. Patricia's attorney, Charles Brown, tried to argue for community property rights, but it's hard to claim half of something you stole. Your Honor, Brown said, Mrs. Morrison is entitled to her fair share of marital assets accumulated during 35 years of marriage. Barbara Williams stood up. Your Honor, Mrs. Morrison systematically looted those marital assets with the intent to defraud her husband. She cannot profit from her own criminal behavior. The judge, a no-nonsense woman named Maria Santos, reviewed the evidence for what felt like hours. Mr. Brown, she finally said, your client participated in a scheme to steal nearly $800,000 from marital assets. The court finds that Mrs. Morrison has forfeited any claim to community property through her criminal conduct. Judge Santos awarded me the house, my full retirement accounts, and $3,500 a month in support from Patricia for 8 years. Not that she had any way to pay it, but the judgment was there. Patricia pled guilty to avoid a trial, got 5 years in federal prison, full restitution, and permanent ban from working in banking. Stephen got 7 years. Turns out he'd run similar scams in 3 other states. I wasn't his first victim, but I was definitely his last. The trial made the local news. Local engineer exposes wife's fraud scheme. They interviewed me outside the courthouse. How did you figure it out? The reporter asked. Same way I managed construction projects for 32 years, I said. Pay attention to details, document everything, and don't let anyone steal from you. The reporter pressed me. What advice would you give to other men in similar situations? Trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, it probably is. And remember, it's never too late to fight for what's rightfully yours. That interview got picked up by a couple of other news stations. For about a week, I was the guy who caught his cheating wife stealing his retirement. Not exactly how I planned to be. Famous, but there are worse things. Tim and Jennifer were incredible through the whole thing. They testified at Patricia's sentencing hearing about how her actions had affected the family. She wasn't just stealing from Dad, Jennifer told the judge. She was stealing from her own children's inheritance. She was willing to destroy our family for money. Tim was more direct. What she did was unforgivable. Dad worked his whole life for that money. She had no right to take it. The judge listened to everything, then looked at Patricia. Mrs. Morrison, you betrayed your husband's trust, violated your professional obligations as a bank employee, and participated in a sophisticated fraud scheme. The sentence is 5 years in federal prison, followed by 3 years supervised release. Patricia was led away in shackles. I watched her go and felt nothing. No satisfaction, no anger, just emptiness. 35 years of my life, gone. But that emptiness didn't last long. That was 2 years ago. Patricia's still in federal prison in Kentucky. Gets out in 3 more years, assuming good behavior. Last I heard, she's working in the prison laundry for 23 cents an hour. Quite a come down from her banking salary. Stephen got transferred to a facility in Pennsylvania after someone in his first prison found out what he was in for. Apparently, guys who steal from families don't do well behind bars. He'll be out in 5 more years, but his investment license is gone forever. Me, I sold the house and bought a cabin on Lake Erie. Small place, but it's mine. No mortgage, no shared accounts, no one to answer to except myself. The cabin came with a workshop in the basement. I've taken up woodworking, built most of my furniture myself. There's something satisfying about working with your hands again, creating something solid and real. Built a dining table from oak that'll outlast me by 50 years. Started volunteering at the local high school too, teaching kids about financial literacy. Amazing how many teenagers don't understand compound interest or the basics of retirement planning. I tell them my story, the edited version, and watch their eyes get wide when I explain how easy it is for someone to steal your future if you're not paying attention. Mr. Morrison, one kid asked, how did you know your wife was lying? Same way you know when a contractor is trying to rip you off, I said. Details don't add up, stories change, and if someone's in a hurry for you to sign something, that's usually a red flag. I'm even dating again. Met a nurse named Carol at the hardware store. She's 52. Widowed 3 years ago when her husband died of cancer. has her own house, her own life, her own retirement account. We take things slow, but it's nice having someone to have dinner with who actually wants to be there. Carol knows my story. I told her on our third date, figured she had a right to know what she was getting into. So, you caught your wife stealing your retirement money? She asked. More than that, I caught her planning to steal my entire future. What did you do? I fought back, used the system the way it was designed to work. She smiled at that. Good for you. Too many people just roll over and take it. That's the thing about starting over at 60. You realize you don't have time for people who don't appreciate what you bring to the table. Patricia saw me as a paycheck to be cashed out. Carol sees me as a partner worth having around. Tim and Jennifer visit more often now. I think they respect what I did, not just catching Patricia and Steven, but starting over at 58, proving you're never too old to stand up for yourself. Jennifer brought her kids last month. My grandchildren are 8 and 10 now. I taught them how to use basic woodworking tools, showed them how to sand a piece of pine until it's smooth as glass. Grandpa, my granddaughter asked, why did Grandma Patricia go to jail? Jennifer started to intervene, but I held up my hand. She made some bad choices. Sweetheart. She forgot that taking things that don't belong to you is wrong, even if you really want them. But you caught her, right? I did. Good. My mom says bad guys should go to jail. Out of the mouths of babes. Tim's doing well. Got promoted to senior engineer at his firm. He calls every Sunday, sometimes just to talk shop. We compare notes on project management, discuss new construction techniques. It's nice having a son who understands the work. Dad, he said last time, I'm proud of what you did, standing up to Mom like that. A lot of guys would have just taken the divorce and moved on. Your mom forgot something important, I told him. She forgot that I spent 32 years solving problems for a living. When someone creates a problem for me, I solve it. People ask if I'm bitter about losing 35 years to someone who turned out to be a fraud. Honestly, no. Those years taught me something valuable. I'm tougher than I thought. Smart enough to spot a con when I see one. Strong enough to fight back when someone tries to steal from me. And at 60 years old, I've still got plenty of good years ahead. Years that belong to me, not to someone who sees me as a retirement plan to be looted. Patricia thought she was marrying a simple construction worker who'd be easy to manipulate. Turns out she married an engineer who knows how to solve complex problems and isn't afraid to use the tools at his disposal. So, that's my story. A 58-year-old guy who refused to let his cheating wife steal his future. Sometimes the good guys actually do win. If you're going through something similar, here's my advice. Document everything. Trust but verify. And remember, it's never too late to start over, but it's also never too early to protect what you've worked for. The best revenge isn't getting even. It's living well while the people who tried to hurt you face the consequences of their choices. Thanks for listening. I hope my experience helps someone out there avoid the same trap I fell into. Or, if you're already in the trap, I hope it helps you find your way out. Remember this. When someone shows you who they really are, believe them the first time. But when they try to steal your life's work, show them who you really are. The difference between a victim and a survivor isn't what happens to you. It's what you do about it. And sometimes the best lesson you can teach a thief is that some people fight back.